Okay, my name's Bob. I am doing these videos to hopefully help some people out. I, at one point in time, was suicidal, a long time ago. Probably when I was 19, 20 years old. And, I know a lot of people go through the same feelings, the same emotions, and contemplate the same things that I did at one point in time in my life. And while I would have never seeked out this kind of help, it seems like somebody might, and people do. I understand that. So, and if I could just help out one person, then I suppose that's good enough. As you could tell, I'm not overly energetic or animated or anything like that. I've never been, and I think that's one of the reasons why most people probably didn't suspect that I was suicidal when I was, just because it wasn't too different from how I normally would act. I would normally be quiet and reserved and withdrawn, for the most part anyways. And while I'm not like that anymore, I'm not like somebody who gets overly excited about things. So that's kind of stayed the same throughout my life for the most part. I do get excited about things, but not too much. So I think everybody that is suicidal is, that they have their own own reasons for for the most part, but we all kind of have a common a common feeling or a common emotion or something, and it's I'm not sure if it's hopelessness or helplessness or shame or what it is, but there seems to be something that we have in common, and it may not even be that. It might be something that we all probably have in common, is that we're thinking about ending our life, or we've attempted it. We've tried to do it, and that is it's difficult for other people to understand why you would do it. Really, not even why you would do it. Why you would even think about it. Why would you consider it? Most people just don't. I've talked to people about it before. They don't get it. It's not anywhere in their mind, body, or soul to even begin comprehending. Why somebody would think about doing that. So makes it difficult. So when I was 19 is when I really, which I'm 40 now, or almost 40, and that's when I was suicidal, when I was 19. And I don't know how long it was for, and how long really actually took me to become not suicidal. I like to think that it kind of happened almost in an instant, but that just may be me remembering things in a different way. I certainly was shifted at kind of a particular instant, but I don't know if you could truly say that you're not suicidal anymore. So one of the things is about being suicidal that you feel, you feel like you're being kind of just always being pulled towards something, almost like a gravitational pull, or and maybe not so much that you're getting pulled towards something, but that you're always just trying to pull away from something, and it just won't let you go. It's got a hold on you, or maybe a better analogy would be, like in the movies when they're out in space and there's a hole in the spacecraft and everybody just kind of gets sucked towards that hole. And when you get sucked towards that hole, which I kind of feel like being suicidal is kind of like that. You're kind of always, it's like your feelings and your emotions and everything is just always kind of being pulled towards that. And your thoughts are always being pulled towards that, and it's difficult to not go there. It's difficult to not be pulled towards those thoughts and those feelings. Just like being sucked out of a spacecraft in the movies, like you almost have no control over it. You need something to hold on to. You need something to grasp and hold, and sometimes that's just what it is you're just grasping and holding and waiting. And I think a lot of people that are suicidal, they do that. They just hold on to something, for dear life, and they wait, and they wait, and they wait, and at a certain point in time, some of us, we can't wait any longer. It's too hard, it's too much, and we just want to let go. It's tough to hold on, and it's easy to let go and just be done with it. So that's one of the things that I think helped me pull myself out eventually, is that I held on long enough, and I held on long enough to to figure out what I was holding on for, and it's not that I got any help from anybody and was kind of convinced, even though other people were a part of the reason. I just held on and held on and held on until I almost gave myself an ultimatum: either let go or stop simply holding on. Go try to crawl out, try to get back out, or try to figure out where you could grab onto next. And when I gave myself that ultimatum, I didn't know which way I was going to choose. And I think most of us don't. I mean, I think it was it wasn't just that day, that point, that moment that I had given myself that ultimatum. I mean, it's kind of a daily thing where you don't know exactly which way you're going to choose. And I think when people finally do make the decision, they do choose to either do it or don't do it, there's a great kind of relief in them. And almost the people that decide to do it, I feel like maybe have a greater sense of relief, because it's over. They know what their next day is going to be like, or the next 2 days, and they know that's going to be it. And struggles over. far as we know, uh, who knows? Ultimately, if you do it, if we have a soul, spirit, and do we just get sent right back down to do the same thing over again? I don't know, but it's certainly a possibility because we just don't know. Maybe some of us do, but. I think what happens for a lot of us is one of a couple things that kind of drives us to this to the point of being suicidal. I think maybe I'll kind of start off with me without getting into the details, but it was a feeling that everything I knew was a lie, and everybody that I trusted and had faith in were part of perpetrating that lie. And I really kind of realized that when I was 19, because of something very specific that had happened. And kind of completely took me out of 18 or 19 years of just thinking I knew exactly how the world was and exactly how things were, how my family and friends and politics and religion, and just knowing all that and knowing that that's just the way it is. It's right. There's nothing else to really think about. Just kind of follow this path, and once that path, or the major part of that path, was kind of taken away from me, it made me just seem like there was nothing, and that 18 or 19 years was just it's just a lie, I guess, basically. So that was, I think it happens to a lot of people, that they just such a big part of their life that was just always there, or was just such a critical part of who they were or how they understood things, when that is just so kind of easily taken away from them, and they can't stop it. It's it really gives you a feeling of helplessness, and then when you just don't know anything else, about just about anything, really. It's like I had no other clue what else could I do, what other path was there, whatever. I didn't know, and at the time you think that was the only one, so you don't really consider okay, well, looking back on it, it seems so easy. Well, yeah, dummy, just sit down and think of something else, just do that. But at the time, it was not that easy, but not even really kind of a thought to do that. And I think a lot of us face that. I think with some people, it's their parents getting divorced, or suffering sexual abuse, or having somebody betray them, or working so hard for something and then not getting it, or working so hard for something and then having it taken away from you, or just never really I guess living your truth and dealing with your issues. I think we can all kind of push things to the side delay and just kind of hold on. But I think to really go from being suicidal to not suicidal, you really need to be able to honestly, say that you've addressed your issues, you've addressed listening, you've come to terms with them, you've accepted it, and you don't. I guess you don't blame those people anymore, or those things or those situations, and you're able to kind of move on from that feeling of hopelessness and helplessness, and be able to kind of say that I've got control of this now, and I'm kind of starting over, or I know I have to do a lot of work in order to get over this, and I know I've got to do a lot of thinking in order to kind of change my view of the world, because clearly, my view wasn't complete, it wasn't whole, or I thought it was, but it was easily cracked, easily broken, and so you have to kind of work to recreate it in a way, and that's one of the things that I did was after I was not suicidal anymore, and I kind of started to move on, and it was kind of in a moment where I knew and that I wasn't. I was depressed for I don't know, years, probably, maybe more than years, just a couple of years, but it probably was, you could say, severely depressed for years, and then probably mildly depressed for another decade or so after that. So, I wish I could tell you that it was just over like that, and it was better, everything was better, and it was in the fact that I wasn't suicidal anymore. But depression sucks as well. So, and I think, for me, it kind of, for some people, they start off being depressed and they become suicidal eventually. And I think for some people, maybe it goes the opposite way. They don't actually feel depressed. It's just all of a sudden everything's kind of taken from them, and they immediately are kind of suicidal. And I suppose you could be both at the same time. But that was years. But one of the things that I did was I basically went down. I decided I was only going to do things that I wanted to do and I enjoyed doing, which at the time, granted I went to work and I didn't necessarily enjoy doing that, but at the time was hanging out with my friends and smoking weed, drinking, and I guess watching Detroit Tigers play baseball and that kind of stuff. But I eliminated everything else. And I was like, I don't want anything to do with my family. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to be around them. I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to be around these other people that I used to hang out with, because I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy going to these types of events or places, so I'm just not going to do it anymore. And I just kind of went down to nothing but hanging out with my friends and smoking and drinking, which it got me through. But ultimately there's more to life than that. I think you need more in order to kind of keep moving on. but sometimes you got to get down to that, you know. And I think for some people, it's probably their friends that they need to get away from, or it's a mixture of certain friends, certain families, certain family members. But you got to make that decision on your own. Maybe it's nobody. Maybe you don't need to get away from anybody. Maybe it's, you know, it's you that you need to get away from in a way through, you know, trying just drastically different things than you're trying. You know, experimenting with different hobbies and professions and doing different things like that. I think one of the biggest obstacles that we face going from being suicidal to not suicidal is accepting that it's okay that you're feeling that way, and it's okay that other people don't understand, and it's okay that you don't understand how they can't understand. You know, I think the biggest thing is just accepting that we're all unique individuals and we all have our own unique experiences. And while somebody else that was, you know, suicidal can kind of commiserate with that, you know, they don't know exactly what you're feeling or exactly why you're feeling it. You know, maybe they do, maybe it's 90-95%, but you know, no one truly knows what you're going through. So I was suicidal about 20 years ago when I was 19, and I don't think I was suicidal for too long. You know, maybe it was a couple months, probably. And certainly after that there was the depression, and then after the depression, the anxiety, and you know, I still have some anxiety and depression occasionally, but it's very, very short-lived when I do now. But I don't have the suicidal thoughts, which, you know, like I said, was only for a couple months. And, you know, one of the biggest things for me, I think it was both the hardest thing and the most relieving thing was kind of realizing that, you know, when I was suicidal, that nobody could make me not suicidal. People could help me understand why I shouldn't be, certainly, and people could help you understand why you shouldn't be. But ultimately, it's up to you, and you've got to. You know, you're the one that has to not be suicidal. And no matter what other people tell you, what reasons they give you or whatever, you've got to find a reason that, you know, resonates within you. And there's a lot of them. There's a ton of reasons not to be. So there's plenty to choose from. You know, you could almost just start going down the list and saying, is this worth living for? Is this worth living for? Is this worth living for? checking off the things that you think are worth living for and are pretty cool or whatever, and then just do those things, and hopefully it's one of the things that is worth living for isn't like crack or meth or something like that, because that comes with its whole own set of problems. But hopefully it's something like hanging out with your friends, or having a couple beers, or smoking a joint, or watching movies, or painting, or doing whatever. I don't know. I think it's probably different for everybody. I know everybody, unless this is the first time you've watched a video on suicide, I know everybody has been told and has heard, that you're not alone. And while that's true, for somebody like me that didn't really do anything, I understand I'm not alone. I don't really care. I'm feeling this way, and I know that, and I can see that I'm not. I know I can ask other people for help, and I know I can do these, all these things, but that's not why I feel this way. That's not because I feel alone necessarily. And for some people, it might be that way. They might feel alone, but I think the kind of alone that we feel is a different kind of alone. It's kind of an alone of I don't know, want to say like spiritually alone or something like that. But I think part of the reason we're alone is because we feel that way, even though we know we aren't. And I think even though some people may tell themselves that that's what it is, I think it's just because in a way we are. I mean, we're the only ones that know when we're not feeling a certain way anymore, and we're the only ones that can really fix that for ourselves. People can help, but they can't fix it for you. Unfortunately, I think that has to come. That can only come from within ourselves, and that's fortunately as well, because that's kind of powerful. Knowing that you could do that, and that you are the one that's responsible for that. It sucks because sometimes it would just be nice just if you could. If somebody else could just carry you, And I think that's one of the other big things is that we're overwhelmed by life, and different people get overwhelmed in different ways and to different degrees. And I think there's some of us that are very easily overwhelmed, and some of us that aren't very easily overwhelmed. And when you're easily overwhelmed in today's world, it's really tough, because there's really no breaks. It's from the time you're a little kid, like everything's kind of like scheduled for you, and there's really no time where you could just be like, yeah, for these 3 or 4 months, I'm just gonna, I could just be me, I could just do what I want to do and feel what I want to feel and go where I want to go or whatever, and just kind of explore and enjoy life in the way that I see that I'm compelled to. And I think I'm 40, and when I was growing up in the 80s, we had time off for school. We had maybe 3 months off, I don't know, maybe 2.5, but it was, we got a decent amount of time off. But we still did things, we still had practices and whatnot. But we, for the most part, we got a decent amount of time off. And I think my parents' generation and grandparents' generation, actually legitimately got that time off, from school. Like, they just had 3 months of just doing whatever, and they weren't expected to be studying or practicing or doing all these different kinds of things. But now I know it's different for kids that are going through school right now. It just seems like there is no break, and sometimes that's when I was struggling, 19, 20, 21, go through being suicidal and depressed and anxious. It was just I just wanted a break. I just wanted to know that I didn't have to wake up tomorrow, but that just for a couple, just for a while, I could just, I'm not expected to do something tomorrow. I don't have to go to class. I don't have to go to work. I don't have to do whatever, and I could just kind of zone out and think and figure things out or not figure things out, but just that kind of opportunity to free my soul in a way. I think it's kind of one of those feelings that we have, is that our soul is so bound by everything that we're doing, and we never really have a chance to just kind of let it go, let it explore, because we're so physically busy and mentally busy and emotionally busy that there's never really that time to really just kind of be spiritually free. Even though I know people would say, well, whatever, religion and this kind of stuff, but even, and I get that, and those are past that, or certainly past the fake. Probably legitimate past, because people have been doing it for a long time and it seems to work for a lot of people. But to me, those are it's the same thing. They're restrictive. I don't feel free when other people are telling me what I should believe and what I should do and how I should do it and who I should love, who I shouldn't love, and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's one of the things that we struggle with so much, is that we can't get a break, so everything can just kind of reset. And really, even attempting to take a little break or suggesting that we want a break nowadays is kind of, it's really, you're looked at as kind of being a loser, that you don't want to work, provide for yourself, or if you have a family, you're a family, and you're almost outcast in a way, which it's I don't want to say it's hypocritical of our society, and it kind of is, but I think there's just kind of like a mismatch between the messages that are being sent. But I bet you, if you're like me right now, you're thinking, yeah, just to have if I could have 3 or 4 months where I didn't have to do something tomorrow. I didn't, or next week. I just knew that this was just kind of open, and it would just, the feeling would just, well, I'll tell you, the feeling is amazing because I did that for myself. I did it when I was 36, so it took me a while to do it, but I finally did it where I could do what I wanted to do, basically. And it was free. There was nothing tying me down anymore to any particular place. Like if I wanted to get up and go, I just get up and go. And so basically what I did is at the age of 36, maybe 37, I decided to leave my home state of Michigan and to basically just travel around and do a little work here, do a little work there, work on some farms, just kind of find different places and just do that, So if I wanted to be in South Carolina, I could be in South Carolina. If I wanted to go to Florida for a couple weeks, I can go to Florida for a couple weeks, Texas, wherever, and just kind of float around like that. And for a long time I had been tied down by my house and my property and my animals in Michigan, which was an amazing experience and a great experience, but it was getting to the point where it was just kind of keeping me in one spot, and and I was just kind of spinning my wheels, and I had been fighting foreclosure on my property for, at the time, 5 years, 4 years, 5 years, something like that, 6 years, yeah. And it always kind of tied me there, and I was just kind of, I let it. I didn't need to let it, but I did. And so, couple that with having farm animals, and it was kind of, they both were just kind of tying me there, and I don't know, it's not like I wanted to. The prospects that I would actually win were not very good, just because I was representing myself and I was trying to learn all this on my own, and I was going against Wells Fargo, and obviously they're a huge company with all these different lawyers, and this is what all they do all day long is do the foreclosures. And so I was going up against a lot there, and I've been doing it for a while. I don't know what the point of me telling you this is, but or the other thing. It sucks when you just don't, when you're sitting there and you just don't know. You don't know what you want. You don't know what you want to do. You don't know where you want to be. You don't know why. You just don't get why. Why does it need to be a why? Why do I have to do something? Why do I have to be somewhere? Why do I why do I have to do all anything? Why do I have to do this? And it sucks when you just don't get it. And I didn't get it for a while. And even though I think I get it now, it still is kind of like, okay, because I'm alive, that's why, basically. I mean, that's basically the reason, is why you're alive. In order to stay alive, that's what you do. You have to. I didn't like the fact that I had to eat, or sleep, or drink water, I tried not to do those things. I've tried to do all different sorts of sleeping programs and methods, and to just like eliminate the need for it. I've tried fasting for long periods of time and doing different weird things, drinking my own pee and that kind of stuff to avoid. Which I don't know. I'm still drinking something, so I don't know what I was thinking there, but because it's just one of those things. It's just like having to do. It's like you just gotta do that. Tomorrow I'm gonna have to drink some water. Tomorrow I'm gonna have to wake up, or tomorrow I'm gonna have to go to sleep, or I don't know. I guess maybe not, but I might have to eat, and it's just like. Yeah, and I think most people, probably 99% of people out there, just wouldn't get that. It would boggle their mind that anybody would even question any of those things. But I think when you're suicidal and maybe depressed a little bit too, you don't see the reasons for anything, and that's why you're one of the reasons why you're suicidal is because you don't. Why? I don't get why I would do any of these things. Like, why do I want to work this way the rest of my life? Why do I want to go to this school? Why do I want to be around these people? Why do I want to have to struggle day in and day out? And for what? I don't know. But that could be the good thing too, is that I don't think any of us really know. Some of us may have a general idea, but I don't think any of us really know. And when people try to tell you that they know, I doubt they do. But they may have found a way that works for them, but the problem is you're not them. And that way, it may work. It may work for you for a little while, and it may be the way for you. I don't know. I mean, you should explore them all, but to me, it's kind of like it's like dieting. I mean, anytime somebody goes on a diet, almost anytime they, especially if they were just eating just like junk before that, they always feel better, and then that diet is like it's the end all be all. It's you gotta do this diet, and it's like, well, yeah, no shit, you felt better. You were eating bags of potato chips and dip all day long, and then you switched to eating salads and fruits and healthy things like that. So yeah, I would imagine that you would feel better. But I don't know. Most people wouldn't get that feeling that I think we have, which is, why do I have to do this? It's a drag. And it is, and it still is for me. Even I still don't like the fact that I have to do. I still get upset when I have to eat and drink water. Like, stay hydrated. It's so stupid. Why do I have to stay hydrated? And I know that sounds absurd, but it's just the reality of it. And then, why do I get a stomachache when I eat like a whole pizza and a gallon of ice cream? Why can't I just have a whole pizza and a gallon of ice cream if I want to eat a whole pizza and a gallon of ice cream? Like, this shouldn't give me the stomachache. This is so stupid. But it does. Then that's like the reality, and that's one of the things that I think is helpful in understanding, is that there are these, and I still don't want to accept them fully, but there do seem to be these realities that we have to deal with on a regular basis. And kind of it could be somewhat comforting accepting that, because then you understand that, okay, well, I just gotta do these things, and that'll kind of free you up to question other things and explore other things. Hopefully. So should why should you listen to these? Why should you hear what I'm saying? And you don't. But I was suicidal, and I was depressed for a long time after that, and I suffered anxiety, and still do. But I also lost two of my best friends to suicide after I was suicidal, and I don't think they ever knew about me being suicidal. I don't think either of them ever knew. I don't think I really told anybody for a long time. Maybe one or two people, but I don't know. But I was there, and two of my best friends went there and did it. So, not only do I understand why you would want to do it, and why somebody did do it, I also understand the feeling that you have when somebody else does it. And while I didn't have that feeling until after I was suicidal, it certainly gives you a different perspective, when somebody you're really close to does it. Because everybody everybody says it after somebody does it. Well, they didn't have to do that. They could have done, and everybody says that. What good did that do? I don't know. Has it ever prevented anybody else from committing suicide when everybody else starts saying that? I don't know. I've never heard anybody tell me that they stopped being suicidal because somebody told them how stupid they were for thinking about being suicidal, or somebody mentioned how absurd it was that somebody else did it, or how all they need to do is ask for help. Because I don't think that's I don't think that's real. I don't think they just need to ask for help. In some cases, maybe, yeah, but I think they would get much the same reaction from a lot of people, and I think they understand that. My parents recognized that there was something going on with me, but they never thought I was being suicidal, and I never told them. But I don't know, it's so difficult to believe, because we just don't, for other people to believe. Even for me, somebody that went through it and had friends do it, it's still, it's still difficult to understand. But I think it's just because everybody is unique and they're their own person. So it makes it, to try to get into their mind and feel what they're feeling, or think what they're thinking, it's almost impossible. So yeah, so I've been there. I've had a couple of my best friends do it, and I know both sides of it. And there's more than just two sides. There's a lot of different sides of it. Because there's the side leading up to it, and there's the side going away from it. There's a side finding out about it, and there's a side dealing with it, and it's all tough. I want to try to say something that is, I don't know, impactful to you, and you know, I don't know. You already know you don't have to do it. I'm sure people have told you that if you, or you've read that or heard it. I mean, you don't, but I don't know. There's a lot of reasons to live, and if you focus on the reasons that there are to not live, then it's going to be difficult for you. And I'm not suggesting that you just stop thinking about all the reasons that there are to not live, but try to shift the focus from them. Still think about it. Still complain about it. You know, be miserable about it. Because I know it's not like an easy shift. All of a sudden, just snap your fingers and be like, "Oh, okay, I'm over it." If that does happen, but usually it's not. You know, usually there's some other factors that come into play there. But find your reason and hold on to it. Whatever it is. Even if it's it doesn't matter. No matter how ridiculous it is. As long as it's not like gonna kill you doing it, then that kind of defeats the purpose, you know. So if it's don't let it be heroin or meth or you know, something like that. But I'm not going to tell you not to let it be weed, because for me it was weed. That was one of the things. It's like, I didn't start smoking until I was like 20, 21. And maybe start when I don't know, probably 20. And that was one of the things. I was like, this is fun. This is worth, you know, holding on a while longer for. And this is just kind of worth holding on for. Having a couple drinks with my friends, hanging out with my friends. Like, those were just things that were just, I enjoyed it. You know, life wasn't all that bad if I could do those things on a regular basis. And eventually you start to find more things and more things, and you know, you just kind of keep adding them on, and you know, eventually they just start to replace the things that you don't like, that you aren't happy about. But find those things and focus on them if you can. I think it's for a lot of us that were suicidal. I think one of the things is we are we're on the we're, I hate to use edges or extremes or something like that, but we're not like everybody else when it comes to certain things, and it may not be obvious to other people, but it's obvious to us. So I'll give you an example of me. I love to sleep, and I know you think, who doesn't love to sleep? Well, a lot. I mean, I don't think people understand what it means to love to sleep when I talk about it. I love taking naps. I love, I love sleeping. I love getting my sleep, and I love sleeping when I want to sleep, waking up when I want to wake up, and most people just don't get it. And part of it is the reaction that probably most people had there was like, well, who doesn't? Well, yeah, I mean, everybody needs to sleep. It's like saying who doesn't like to eat. But there's some people that really like to eat. They eat like all the time. And like, who doesn't like to have sex? Well, there's some people that really, really like to have sex, and they have to do it all the time. There's these different extremes, and just like with those other things, which people kind of are actually even more understanding of all those other things when you say, sex. Well, they have a sex addiction. It's like, well, that's why they, have to have sex all the time, and they have to, they're always cheating on their partners and stuff like that. It's somehow somewhat understanding. And then with the eating, they have an eating disorder, and so that's why they need to eat all the time. And with all these things, but with sleep, it's people look at me like I'm really lazy and unproductive, or just it's not an acceptable thing, I guess, like those other things are, in a way. Like if I were to be at work and go grab a snack, like nobody would say anything about it. But if I were to be at work and decide to take a 20-minute nap, well, it might be an issue. If I were at home with my wife and I went and got something to eat from the refrigerator, it really wouldn't be an issue. I mean, unless I was eating things that she wanted saved, but really wouldn't be an issue. But if I were to try to take a nap, she would have an issue with it. I think she knows me well enough now to kind of let me do it, but I feel like that nap is a really bad example of it. But it's one of those things. I don't know. Maybe it's something that people that are depressed and suicidal have in common, is that we have an increased desire for it. Maybe or just need for it, because compared to other people, I certainly just seem to enjoy it a lot more. I don't know, enjoy, but I've had people tell me that how much they love sleep, but then I just don't think they understand what it really means to love sleep. My wife says that, and then she takes a 20-minute nap. I'm like, try 2 or 3 hours. That's a good nap. 20 minutes. What is that crap? It's like you're barely gonna even get a chance to dream in 20 minutes, So, when I was suicidal, I thought a little bit about how I was going to do it, but most of my thoughts were about doing it, and more just about, ending my life. And I didn't sit there and analyze how to do it, I guess. I think kind of I knew the ways, but I didn't sit there and think about, I was gonna pop all these pills or get a gun and shoot myself in the head or in the heart, or I think shooting yourself in the head is the most common way, as both of my friends did. I don't know if it's the most common way. I think maybe prescription pills or drugs or something like that are overdosing on those. But hanging and those, I certainly knew about them, but the way I was gonna do it was, and it was kind of the night I gave myself the ultimatum is that I love to drive and just get out on the road and help me think and just play music and put a dip in and just kind of chill out, be by myself. I didn't have anybody bugging me. And at the time, I don't think I had a cell phone. This was 1998, 1999, so I don't believe I did. So there was that where I didn't have to worry about somebody texting me or calling me, and I could just put the radio on and just drive. And I was in college at the time, and I did that one day, and it was really stormy. There was a lot of rain and stuff. And, I didn't see too well in the rain at night, anyways. So, but I was driving and just got on the highway, 90 or I can't remember exactly which I was, but I was in southern Michigan and I ended up just driving, and I started to drive and went through Indiana and Illinois, and while I was driving, I was contemplating it the whole time, thinking, okay, so this is it. This is, this is when you're going to do it, or just be done with it. Be done with it one way or the other. Either do it or just be done with it being a reality. And so I kind of started my drive up like that, and just kind of kept going and going and going, and thinking about all the ways. I mean, basically, what I was either gonna pull, get going really fast, pull over under a tree, or into oncoming traffic or something like that. And as I was going and thinking about it, I was like, well, I don't want to involve other people in this, so after a little while, I was like, I'm not going to pull into a semi or something like that, because other people don't need to be harmed because of this. And so then, I basically made up the decision to, if I was going to do it, I was going to pull into a tree. And kind of as I kept going, and just kind of thinking about it, I actually kind of had like an out-of-body experience where, I just kind of felt like I was floating above my car, kind of in it, outside of it, just basically not inside of myself at that point in time. And I was thinking, what if I pull into it and it doesn't work? Then what? Am I mangled? Am I paralyzed? What happens? And I knew my family would take care of me, and the more I kind of thought about it, the more I realized, like, I don't want them to take care of me. I don't want them to have to do that. And how much would that suck for them to have to take care of me the rest of their lives because I did that. Then maybe they wouldn't even know. Maybe they would just be like, oh, we got in an accident, and they wouldn't have known I was suicidal or anything like that. But the thought of my parents having to take care of me the rest of my life for my family was kind of like I think it just didn't make I just didn't feel right about it. And objectively, I knew that if I were to go this route, then I would. There's no guarantee that it would work. And I thought about the other routes, and like what if I shoot myself or these other things, and when I was kind of really thinking about it, I just kind of realized that, kind of in that split second where you're gonna do it or not do it, there's just kind of like this kind of shift that happened, like that. Where I knew that I wasn't going to do it anymore. And I think a big part of it is because, one, I realized I didn't want other people to have to take care of me. And I knew that there was no guarantee that that could be avoided. The second thing, which was actually kind of a lesser thing to that, was the thought of, what other people would have to deal with if I were to go. And I didn't care about that as much as I did the first one, which probably should be the other way around, but at the time, now probably, kind of surprised that I would think that way, but for me, I didn't really care too much what they would go through. If I did die, but I cared a little bit. And then the other thing I thought a lot about on that drive was how bad other people have it. And I think I was I was so preoccupied with my own situation, and was kind of comparing my current situation at the time to what it was a couple months ago or a year ago or whatever, and kind of comparing those two situations and just thinking, wow, it's like, compared to the other one, it's like hopeless, it's helpless. And then I was kind of comparing myself to everybody that I was going to school with, who just seemed to have such clear ideas as to what they wanted to do, why they were there, what they were going to do with their life and everything like that. I had no clue. So I just felt like they were all like up here, and I was down here. I had nothing, and they had everything. And so, on the drive, I started thinking about not necessarily what I have, but what other people have been through, and how much other people had survived. And I always enjoyed history, and that watching those kind of shows and channels. And so I saw what people went through, and the world wars and what people went through in other countries, and what people in this country went through with slavery, and what women went through with, or what they go through with being raped, and what minorities have to deal with in this country. And I just kind of started thinking, like, people deal with like a lot of stuff, and get through it. And some people get through it really, really well. Other people no, but some people just have this kind of this resilience, and no matter how bad it seems, they're able to kind of survive and thrive, and move past it and through it. And here I was, I hadn't gone through anything like they had gone through. I wasn't raped, I wasn't abused, I wasn't, beaten, I didn't go through war, I hadn't had any, traumatic deaths, my parents weren't divorced, and just kind of started looking at all these reasons, and even though, I didn't have those reasons, I knew it was okay to feel the way I felt, because a lot of the things that those other people went through, while they were much worse than what I went through, kind of the very similar, some of the same feelings and some of the same issues with life arise from those things. But I just thought, God, if they could go through that and survive and get past it, then why can't I get through this? And that's just thinking about those things, kind of took me from being a blink away from pulling my car into a tree to kind of knowing that I just wasn't going to have that urge anymore. And it's not that I stopped thinking about it, I still thought about it a lot, it just wasn't, was I going to do it? That was no longer on the table. But I don't know how you could get there. I just don't. Maybe it's the same way, maybe it's a different way, maybe it's through talking to other people. Maybe it's just through getting away. I don't know, my friends couldn't find a way. But maybe if I talked to them about it, maybe they could have. Maybe they would have understood a little bit more about it. I don't know. I think that's one of the things that a lot of us go through when somebody that we are close to does it, is that feeling of what could I have done differently. You start thinking back about all the different encounters that you had with them, and chances and whatever, and think, oh, I see now, I should have done something there. And maybe, but I don't know, it's so tough to know. No one would have known about me. If I decided to do it, I just would have done it. And I think for a lot of people that's the way it is. So